yelling and hooting and hollering.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Manifest Me Mastermind July 2020 edition. And today we're focusing on romance, passion, and creating your soulmate love. And I like saying creating because a lot of times I think people believe that somehow the outside factors determine whether or not they are in a thriving intimate relationship. And for those of you who joined me in our June call, we talked about 4 stages of spiritual development. And we talked about that the very first stage that most of the world lives in is the victim consciousness, is when we believe that the outside factors shape our reality, that all the good ones are already taken, or there are not any good ones left, or etc., etc. I'm not just meeting the right person, blah, 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 blah. And that's victim consciousness. It's believing that the outside world determines your happiness, or the outside world, the economy, your age, your background determines how you shape your reality. And the truth is, the second stage of spiritual development, like we talked about last time, is actually you have the power to shape your destiny. You and only you create your reality, and that's the manifestor stage of our spiritual development. Well, anyway, I'm not going to go on and on about this since we talked about it on our last call. Today, our focus is all about relationships, and that's why I have a very special guest today, my amazing husband, Roger, who will chime in as we share with you guys, our secrets, our rules and rituals of creating our thriving intimate relationship. And I'll have the liberty and say, like, I believe that our marriage gets better and better with every day. And I also want to say that we didn't just wake up like this. And for those of you who've been to our trainings, you know that our relationship, especially in the beginning, was very rocky. It was full of drama, lots of heartbreak and tears. And, where we are today is comes as a result of us, like our daily practice, right? We've created this relationship. It didn't just fall on our lap, and very mindfully and consciously we've created our relationship. You want to add something?
No, I think you got it. Thank you for having me on today. And I know that you all work with Albina regularly, and so do I, as it turns out, just on a different sort of level, but we're doing the work together all the time so that we can grow and evolve. And it's never static. It's always a work in progress. And I believe that we can always refine and do better for each other and for ourselves. So yeah, that's what a relationship is. It's a constant, it's a constant evolution, and there are tools that can help you. The intent here really is to help people create love-filled relationships that are passionate and thriving, and that requires work, mostly work on yourself, and then also some work together. So that's what we're here to do, is to share some of our tools. And this is for everybody, right?
Yeah.
This is for everybody, whether you're currently in a romantic relationship, whether you're single, what your relationship looks like, right? It doesn't really matter, because these tools work in all kinds of relationships. And specifically, we're talking about romantic relationships, intimate relationships, and it doesn't have to be just those kind. And everybody has the potential to have a thriving, passion-filled soulmate relationship.
That's right.
Yeah.
In other words, it's not just chance. It's not just like luck. Yes, there is grace, and I acknowledge grace every day of my life. Absolutely. Grace has led us to each other. And it's also your daily discipline and your daily work. And what I want to acknowledge, like Roger said, we have people not only in this call, but people who will be watching this recording afterwards. people in their relationships, married people, single people yearning for that soulmate love. We also have people in the same sex relationships. So in other words, the things that we'll share with you today is for everybody. These tools, these principles work for every kind of relationship. And like these are some of the things that we've learned over the years. These are the certain disciplines and secrets that we've developed on our own. And I wish somebody were to share these secrets with me when we first met, or when we first started dating, or when we first got married. Most of the time people start like learning this kind of stuff when their relationship is in trouble, like when they're experiencing challenges in their relationships. And what I want to say is like, no. Anything in this life, including relationships, requires attention, love, energy, focus. Just like if you were to start a business, you would give your business all those things, or you're raising a baby, you would give your baby attention, love, energy, focus. The same with the relationships. If you want to create a thriving, intimate relationship full of passion, full of deep love, soulmate kind of love, full of romance, what we're saying is you have to, or you get to, give it a lot of attention, love, and energy.
Can I
Okay,
add
so
something?
please.
We lead meditation teacher training, and I taught a regular weekly class of meditation, and people would come when they had a crisis, and that was okay. It was great. Come when you have a crisis. And I'd say come when you don't have a crisis too, right? Because doing the work every week gets you to that place where you, like, in moments of crisis, you have tools and you have skills and you have things to work with. And so it's the same with relationships, right? You work on them when they're going well too. You
That's
work
right.
on them all the time. And that's why that's how they improve. Things are going well, and like, what else can I bring to this that can make it even better? That's a good question to ask, right?
That's right. And we are going to talk about attracting your soulmate love for those people who are, yearning for the soulmate love, and we'll get to that part. So I think let's go ahead and start. I deeply believe that the key, the foundation for any thriving intimate relationship is making your partner your number one priority. Is making your partner your number one priority. And guys, I used to lead these women's gathering at our yoga community, and the part when we talked about relationships, and I talk about how you have to make your partner your number one priority in order to have a thriving relationship. And I remember a lot of women would get really triggered by that, and they would like literally start arguing with me why it's not correct. And then I'd be like, oh, really? Well, maybe this is why you're struggling in this department. So it is that important, making your partner your number one priority. And I truly believe that it is when your partner feels like someone or something else is your priority, and it can be your children, it can be your work, it can be your friends, it can be I don't know, your golf game,
Your mom,
your parents, right? If your partner feels like someone or something else is your number one priority, you're gonna have issues, you're gonna have problems in your relationship. Do you want to add anything to that?
well, we're not saying that yourself, take care of yourself, fill up your own cup first. We're not saying that. We're saying there are external things that can become your number one priority, and it's an incorrect prioritization. But of course, taking care of yourself, taking care of your personal relationship with something bigger than yourself to source, those are priorities. And we often put something else in there before our partner, right? We'll put something, like she said, your golf game or whatever that looks like, right?
Your mom.
Yeah. And that's an incorrect prioritization. And it'll feel that way, and there'll be a tension that starts with that.
Yeah, well, think about it. When we first start dating, right? When we meet somebody and we're really excited, we're in love, we feel that electricity in the air, that partner, that person is our number one priority, right? If you're with me, give me some jazz hands. Like literally, we put everything else aside and we find the time to make that person our number one priority. And what I'm saying is that once you've been together for a while, right? I mean, once you have children, women become moms, and then all of a sudden this little human being is it right in front of you who demands all of your attention, and all of a sudden your child becomes your number one priority, and then your husband goes to your back burner. And I remember actually, Roger's mom was so amazing. She's 82 now. And when our kids were little, and obviously all of my attention went to my children. Back then, we just started our business. Whatever attention I have left went into my business. And I remember Mrs. Rippey came and she was like, she's so, like tactful and delicate. And she's like, well, honey, in a loving kind of way, she was like, well, we tend to give our children all of our attention, and our husbands also need our attention. And I know that she meant it with like all her heart in a loving and supportive way. And I remember it was like a wake up call for me. If she got the courage to speak to me about that, I knew that that must have been important, right?
She's not the kind of mother-in-law that
Yeah,
gives advice a lot, right?
That's right. And I'm deeply grateful for that, because in that moment I kind of like woke up. I was like, oh, I'm not making my husband a number one priority. What I'm saying is, like, I didn't know this principle, and I'm so glad that I learned about it, because I truly believe that it took our relationship to a completely different level.
Yeah, and what I would say is it's easy. It's really easy to fall into that pattern where you really want to succeed at work, or you got a big project, or kids, right? Kids are a lifetime project, and it's really easy to throw yourself into that, and it's actually very normal, and that suddenly creates someone jumps over your partner in priority, and they'll feel that, right? And there might be moments where a child, work, something your mom, something important comes up, and that becomes the priority for a moment. And in the bigger picture, it's important, like in the bigger picture, your partner needs to be your priority.
That's right. It doesn't mean that you don't love your children or you don't love your mom. No, that's not what we're saying at all. And as a matter of fact, I know some of you are in a blended family, or in your future you will have a blended family. And I'll tell you another story. I come from a blended family, and I remember my mom married my stepfather when I was 11 years old, and I remember that my mother made my stepfather her number one priority, and that pissed me off, and I acted out, and I was like a terrible brat then. Now that I'm 40, I look back and I say, oh, that was correct priority. But at the time, I didn't know. So this also brings up another element of communication and talking to your children, talking to your partners, right? Talking to your mom, talking to all the people in your life and lovingly explaining why this is the order of priority. And I'm not saying like it is easy, especially those of you who are in those blended families. And nevertheless, your partner needs to be your number one priority if you want to be in a thriving soulmate kind of relationship. And I think we all do.
So you're going to talk about how?
Yes. So, make time for your partner. Make time for your partner. And Roger is really good at that. Ever since we started dating, like, Roger would put like little notes in my pocket saying like really silly things, and I would randomly stick my hand in my pocket and I'd find a note. And it just like makes me feel loved and adored. He's really good at sending text messages throughout the days. Back in the day, he would call and just tell me like he loved me for no particular reason. Also,
I still do that.
He does, yes.
Yeah.
He's very romantic. And date night. I've always said that, and I'll probably forever say that the best investment, the most important investment that we've ever made in our lives is the date night investment. So every Saturday night, no matter what, we go on a date night. Ever since the children were born. So now it's what, our oldest one is 12 and a half.
Yeah.
Every Saturday night we go on a date night. And I remember, oh my gosh, we can't afford a babysitter for every Saturday night. And now looking back, I'm so glad that we did. And actually Roger insisted on that, because that is when we get to spend time together as adults. This is the time when we get to romance each other. This is the time when we get to be flirtatious and playful with each other. This is the time when I get dressed in a sexy dress, put on my makeup and my heels, and I feel sexy, like I feel like a woman. I feel wanted, I feel desired, I feel his attention on me. And in other words, it doesn't just happen. We schedule it, we prioritize it even the other day. So we're now in San Diego in a RV camp. Literally, if I were to turn the camera around, you'd see a bunch of trucks and RVs. So we took the kids to San Diego, and we were driving through California, through what you call Arizona, Payson, Arizona, if you've never been there. And we rented a hotel room, and literally we decided that it was time for us to have our date night. Roger rented a room across the parking lot. The kids were in the room. We went on a date to the steakhouse, which was on the same parking lot as this motel. So it doesn't have to be something super fancy like Ritz-Carlton or whatever. It can be just, a motel room across the parking lot from your children, and go to a restaurant on the same parking lot. But at the same time, it's something like romantic, and we had a great time.
Yeah.
And if you're saying right now, oh, but I don't have the money, I don't have the money to take my loved one to the steakhouse. First, I want to say, it's, instead of saying I don't have the money, just say it's not a priority for me. It's not a priority for me. That is the truth. So for me, I would much rather not buy a new pair of shoes, but prioritize our date night. And second of all, what I'm saying is, it doesn't have to be something fancy. Like when the pandemic happened, we are in Taos, we have a hotel there, and we just had a date night in one of the rooms. Literally, we just kicked all the kids out, and we said, Mom and Dad, and this is the thing, the kids already know that we have a date night. So they know not to bother us. They know not to come. They know that they shouldn't be calling us, because this is the time that we spend together.
They know that they're free, and they're not going to have us telling them what to do for a few hours.
That's right. So you also train your family. My mom is with us in Taos, New Mexico, my brother, and they all know that Roger and Alvina have their date night. Don't bother them. Step up, resolve the issues with the guests, and we train them that way, because we say in a way that we prioritize our relationship, we romance each other. This is what we do.
There's a corollary to that too, because when we first started going on date nights, not only did we have a growing family together, but we also had a business together. So we had a lot going on, and everybody does, right? So everybody has a lot going on in their lives now more than ever. And we had to make a rule that we would only talk about our kids and our work for the first 10 minutes of our date, because there's always stuff to talk about with both of those, right? And then we had to talk about anything else, which meant we had to also have interesting things to talk about, or be doing some, work on our own to have something to add to the conversation other than work and kids, right? So I might need to read a book, or watch a movie, or read an article, or, something. And it sounds silly, right? Because it's, if maybe you don't have all that right now to imagine, but you get to a point where, because your kids and your work and things are a priority, then that's all you talk about. And that actually,
that's not sexy. That's not romantic.
No, that's actually just for the most part, work. So
yeah, we'd get so worked up and stressed out that if we talked about work, then it was no longer sexy. I was no longer in the mood for romance.
There was no more romance in it. Yeah. And so I think that's also on, the other side is that not only are you always growing your relationship, but you're always growing yourself, so that when you're we've said this before, but when you're following your passion and you're doing things that you love to do, that's sexy. That's appealing. That's, that's attractive. And so it's easy to lose that.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say take care of yourself, part of that is be growing yourself.
That's right.
Part of that is be growing yourself. It doesn't have to be like, you don't have to go to, a massive mastermind course every 6 weeks, but you could, say, this is my lane that I'm interested in, and I want to learn about it, and then I want to share it, right? I want to share it with my partner and invite them into the conversation about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And especially for those single people out there, like Roger said, and I want to emphasize that and highlight that when you are doing something that brings you joy, that sparks up your passion, that kind of, I like to say, quickens the blood in your veins, that's sexy.
Yeah.
That's attractive. Like a lot of people will be like, say that, oh, when I get married, then I'll do that. No, you do that now. There was something else that she was saying that just I thought, all of these kind of concepts, they are interconnected, and we're going to talk about. I don't know how much we can squeeze in 1 hour, but sometimes, ladies, we tend to like control our men. And we need to know where they're doing at all times, and just like we have this tendency to control. And men's number one, well, maybe number one is sex. The masculine energy, number one is sex, but the second one is freedom. Mm-hmm. So the moment you go into the tendency to control, you right away undermine that basic need for men is to feel free. So I remember when, like Roger does his own thing, I do my own thing. And like when we first got married, you were going into indie rock concerts and stuff like that, and doing his triathlons. And I just like, yeah, you do your thing, because I know that whenever he comes back, he's really excited about that. So like, I don't have to be there all the time with him 24/7. Certain things, like, you do it on your own. It makes him, how does it make you feel? You tell them.
To do it on my own?
Yeah.
Well, if she doesn't like it, then it feels better to do it on my own. If she likes it, I like to do it with her. But, a lot of the things we were doing while we were dating, I found out she didn't actually even like all that much. She just liked me. Yeah, like
I went to all these indie rock concerts with him, and like the moment I had the ring on my finger, I was like, yeah, I'm not going anymore. Like, I only went because I wanted to hang out with him. And he's like, you don't like this? I'm like, no, I never liked that. So he started going to his indie rock concert by himself.
Well, yeah, and I think that was the important part. She encouraged me to still go and not try to shut it down, right? And say, like, you can't go do that anymore, because it was obviously something that I loved. I think the point is that, freedom is a big, and then you want to talk about the corollary on the other side, because that leads into the, what makes someone feel loved.
Well, I wasn't planning on talking about it, but I will. It actually leads me to the next thing that I want you guys to jot down, is what makes your partner, or what makes you feel loved.
Adored, understood,
desired, wanted. Mm-hmm. What makes you feel loved? And ask your partner, what makes you feel loved? Because you may have an idea what makes your partner feel loved, but you don't know. You don't know, it's your idea, right? And a lot of times I'll tell you, I'll talk about from this feminine perspective. Ladies, I truly believe that a lot of times we ourselves don't even know what makes us feel loved and adored. If you were just to pause for a moment and think, like, what is it? And if you don't know yourself, how can you expect your partner to satisfy that need? Mm-hmm. No matter what they do, it's not going to be good enough, because you yourself don't know. So I'll give you an example. So what makes me feel loved and adored and desired is when I put on a sexy dress, I do my hair, I do my makeup, I put on my heels, and when he takes me to a nice dinner. Hence, every Saturday night we have a date night.
And part of that is when you do that, you get 100% of my attention.
That's right. So do you see how, so that's one of, I don't like to say a rule, but it is kind of a rule. This is what makes me feel wanted. This is what makes me feel loved and desired. And then he does that. And we do that as a weekly discipline. Are you with me? So we're kind of putting all these together. Ask your husband, ask your wife, ask your partner, what makes you feel loved? Not what you think makes them feel loved, but what they feel. What how do you say it?
Well, I would start with ask yourself what makes you feel loved, and then ask them what makes them feel
That's
loved.
right.
You know, there's a really great book, The Five Love Languages.
That's right.
A lot of people have read that, and it was really eye-opening for me to see how, just within my own family, how each of us, once I read that book and understood, each of us had a different love language. Like
That's right.
one love language is service, you know, like to serve others. Another love language is, you know,
Touch.
quality time, intimate touch, you know, all these things. And so
Gifts.
little gifts, right? And so if you're speaking the love language, right, and saying, you know, I'm giving gifts, but her love language isn't receiving gifts, then those gifts won't mean much to her.
That's right.
But if her love language is quality of attention, you know, the other is words of praise,
Mhm.
right? If your love language, if that makes you feel loved, if words of praise make you feel loved, I can give you gifts, but that won't really make her feel, it won't fill her love cup, in other words, but words of praise will. Honey, you look so beautiful today. I love when you do this. You know, those are things that like can fill some people's love cup, and other people that wouldn't mean as much to.
Right.
So you might be speaking your own love language to someone, and they're receiving something completely different. And
That's right.
when you learn to understand the love language that you speak and the love language that your partner or even another, like your child or someone else, speaks, then you can speak to them in their love language and they feel filled up, right? So that's a really important piece, is kind of to understand what is it that makes your partner feel loved, adored, understood, filled up. And that took some time, you know, to sort that out, because like she said, what makes me happy and feel understood is totally different than what makes her feel happy and understood. And it took me a while to understand that.
And you don't have to spend 10 years figuring that out. You can simply ask, hey, what makes you feel loved, right? For me, I was like, hey, I make you dinner. I put all my love into this food that I'm making. To me, that's the ultimate gift of love. And to him, it's like, it's just dinner. You know, it's like, it's nothing. For him, it's completely different. He wants quality time. He wants touch. He wants like, he wants a different, his love language is different than mine.
Mhm.
Mine is like, bring me water. You know, like when I'm already in bed, bring me water. That's, if he brings me water, that means he loves me. And to him, it's like, it's freaking water. Do you know, we all have different love languages, and the sooner you figure that out, then give your partner what they want, not what you think they want.
Yeah, it's funny because it's so small, and that water thing, it's like now I go and get her water, but at first I was like, why can't you get your own water, or just remember to get water when you're going to bed? And really, I guess it's that language, and it's so small, but you could miss it, right? You could just totally miss it and be like, get your own damn water.
Or take the trash out. It's the same thing. Look, we're still talking about trash again. Taking the trash out also means that he loves me. And to him, it's just the trash. So these are just examples from our everyday life.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to cover a few things with you guys. And the second thing that I want to talk about is polarity equals passion. And this one is a big one. Polarity equals passion. So again, many of you are in the same-sex relationship here. Polarity, you know, the opposite energy. So in this case, masculine, feminine. Some women are more masculine, some men are more feminine. It's just, it doesn't matter actually. What matters is the polarity, the opposites. So if you think of the earth, right, there are polar opposites, the North Pole, South Pole, and that magnetic energy creates life on this planet. It creates magnetism, it creates energy, it creates literally life. This is why we are here on this planet. So it's similar in our relationships. Our polar opposites, that's what pulls us together. This is what creates passion, romance, spark, desire. And it's there when we first are, like when we meet somebody and it's fresh, we have lots of like that energy, right? That spark. And when you're with somebody for a while, sometimes what tends to happen is, I mean, I'll talk about from the feminine perspective. Again, it goes back to that control issue. We want to, let me just give you an example. So Roger is naturally, let me just tell you how I used to look at it. I used to think that he's extremely disorganized and he doesn't have his shit together. And he should write shit down so he gets things done. Because I am very disciplined and I'm very organized. And I literally wanted to change him and make him more organized. Now that was my mistake. And what I didn't understand and I didn't know about this concept of polarity. So if I make him like me, then we're no longer polar opposites. And if I make him, I'm quotation, like me, then I kill passion. I kill spontaneity, that spark, that electric energy that attracted us to each other. Are you with me?
Can I add something?
Yeah.
So, yeah, the corollary to being disorganized was spontaneous, free,
right. Romantic,
and
present.
Well, and maybe not that terribly organized, but what, when you start trying to fit someone into the box of what you think they ought to be like, well, then those other qualities aren't necessarily going to be there. But that's what pulled us together to begin with. She liked that about me, except for then when it meant I forgot to pick up something, Then suddenly
from school.
Wow.
Whoops.
Didn't do that very much.
Just sometimes. But you know what? We're kind of making a joke out of it. Yeah. But if you look at your life, it probably happens more than you care to admit. So now whenever Roger forgets something, instead of blowing up at him, I'm like, oh, I recognize that he is different than me. As a matter of fact, the masculine and the feminine energies are completely different. We are wired differently. We think differently. We operate differently. We're made differently. And the moment you start to, sometimes our natural desire is to make, to be similar or to change somebody to be more like you. And what we're saying is it's a mistake. The moment you make somebody more like you, you kill romance, you kill passion, you kill that magnetic pull. Are you with me?
Moreover, I'm sure you've talked about this. You can't change other people anyway. They might try to fit into your idea of who they should be for a little while, but you're going to be who you are with some refinement, right? I mean, that's the truth. That only they could choose to change, right?
That's right. And
so to try to make anybody change to fit any mold of what you think they ought to be like is a recipe for trouble anyway, right?
Instead, choose to celebrate who your true essence is. Choose to celebrate your partner's true essence instead of trying to change them. And remember, I said number one priority for men is sex. Number two is freedom. The moment you try to change your man and make him more like you, you violate that basic need for freedom in him, and you kill spontaneity, passion, that spark. And what I also want to say, most relationships end not for the lack of love. Most relationships end for the lack of passion. Most relationships, people still love each other, but they get a divorce or they break up. Why? Because that passion is no longer there. Why? Because you forgot that polarity equals passion. Because you try to change this person, control them, make them more like you. Are you with me? Give me some jazz hands that you're with me. Yes. Okay, good.
You want to talk about, I don't know if there's even time to talk about this, but you kind of, Albina has more of a masculine role at work.
Oh, yeah, the nicknames, I have that.
Yeah, okay, so you're getting to that?
Yeah.
All right.
So I like this one because I learned, when I learned this, it was like, oh, it's such an eye-opening experience for me. So as many of you know, Roger and I worked together, right? We had our business together. And that first year that Roger, you don't like the story, but I like to tell the story this way. So the first year, I started Yoga One. I mean, not we started Yoga One, but I was spending 100% of my time at Yoga One. Mm-hmm. And Roger still had his day job as a lawyer. and he would, contribute on at nights and the weekends. And then once the business started growing, then Roger left his career as a lawyer and came to Yoga One, our yoga studio, on board 100%. And I say this, that was, I mean, this is the part that he doesn't like. I say that was the most challenging year of our marriage to me. And because all of a sudden we were working together side by side 24/7, and we would fight all the time and would bring that fighting energy home. And looking back now, I know that I didn't understand this principle that I'm about to share with you. At work, as a leader of my company, as an entrepreneur, I had to, in certain moments, I had to embody a really masculine energy, right? I had to make difficult decisions. I had to make difficult conversations with people, and like leading. Sometimes it has masculine quality, right? You have to step up, you have to be strong and confident, all of those things. So I call it the masculine energy. That's not all the energy that I embodied to lead Yoga One, but it was a big part of it, especially in the beginning. So what I didn't understand is I would bring that masculine energy home. And he's already masculine, and masculine would just butt heads. So then I learned this principle. I was like, oh, I get it now. So I am a multifaceted human being. I have many facets of me. I can be masculine, like I call that part of me is she-EO. At work, I am the she-EO. I make decisions, I lead, I have difficult conversation, I fire people if need to. And at home, my energy is feminine. I'm playful, I'm sexy, I am spontaneous, I'm flirtatious. At home, I'm foxy. So she-EO stays at work, foxy is at home. With my children, I'm the mother of dragons, because those children, they are freaking dragons. I have to embody a different part of me when I'm with me. I cannot be foxy with my children. Look, Judge Alex is dying. I cannot be foxy with my children. I cannot be she-EO with my children. I have to be the mother of dragons. Do you know what I mean? So I like that. Once I learned these principles, I was like, oh, I get it now. I activates different facets, different parts of me in different situations. Sometimes when I'm a she-EO, I gotta call in Foxy, because only Foxy can solve certain problems. Are you with me? So now at this point, I know when to discern. I know when to bring my feminine energy in, when I need to put it on the background. But at home, definitely Foxy.
Can I add something?
Yes.
And that ties into these priorities of the masculine and the feminine, like what the basic needs are. Because like she said, yeah, she's at work, she's she-EO, she's giving directions all day, right? Like, can you do this? Can you pick that up? Can you handle that? Can you change that? Can you do this? Can you do that? And then she'd come home and go, can you pick that up? Can you do this? Can you do that? And
control, freedom.
And I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Because suddenly I felt like I'm being told what to do all the time. And if you think of freedom, like that doesn't feel like freedom. And she could accomplish the same thing by shifting how she would ask about it. Like say, you know, what would make me feel really supported is if when I came home, this was done and that was done. Now suddenly I feel like I have a choice, right? And I'm supporting her. So like and that's one of her, you know, or love languages, right? And that feels differently to me than
take the trash out.
Yeah.
I can say take the trash out in a playful, flirtatious way. Do you know what I mean? It's how you say it is also important. And ultimately, what is the energy that you're connected with? And then your language and your behavior will change. Mm-hmm. So the question that I'd like for you to jot down is, what connects you to your true essence? What connects you to your true essence? So if you are a masculine energy, what connects you to your masculine energy? If you're a feminine energy, what connects you to your feminine energy? Again, this is not something like, a lot of times we don't even know what it is. You know, and if you don't know what it is, how can you, first of all, it's going to be difficult for you to come back to your true essence, but also it's going to be difficult for your partner to support you in that. So again, like I said, for me, what helps me connect to my feminine energy, like I said, putting on a sexy dress, getting my hair done, wearing high heels, and I like when he takes me out to dinner. I like dancing, that connects me to my feminine energy. When I feel sexy, when I feel desired, when I feel beautiful, that makes me feel like I am fully embodying Foxy. Do you know what I mean? What
Yeah.
makes you connect to your masculine
I was just
energy?
thinking about that. Well, one is I think exercise, like moving my body, is a big one. Creativity,
Yeah.
being able to and learning. Like, so if I get to read, I get to learn and grow. Exercise, moving my body makes me feel, yeah, like me, more like my essence for sure. So if I have time to do that and the space to do that, then I feel.
Can I maybe one more?
Sure.
I think it makes you feel like when you're taking care of your family.
Of course.
Like
Yeah.
Roger enjoys planning
That's true.
vacations and ensuring that we all have a good time. That makes you feel like you're like the head of the family, that you're taking care of your girls.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And here's the thing. This is what I wanted to actually talk about. Now, there is a part of me that can be a control freak, right? Remember I told you that I'm well organized, I'm disciplined. So in the early part of our marriage, I would want to control those details. Where are we going? How much does it cost? How long are we going to be there? How much does it cost is the big one. Like what? How much? What? And I'd get into this control freak. Like I needed to know everything. And now that we've kind of learned what works in polarity, I fully trust him that he will do an amazing job planning a vacation. I don't have to know all the details. As a matter of fact, I kind of jokingly say, like, Roger does all the planning. I just show up looking cute. In a way, it's because I know that makes him feel like he's taking care of his girls, right? It makes him feel free. It makes him feel like he's tapping into his creativity. He has the total freedom to do whatever he wants when it comes to planning a vacation. So I don't even interfere. I come and I'm surprised.
Not to mention, I'm also a little bit of a control freak, or a lot of one, and two control freaks trying to plan a vacation is not going to be a good result, right?
That's right. So do you see how you can spend 15 years trying to figure that out, or you can just learn this principle and decide what what your partner will do. So like we're remodeling our house in Austin right now. I know it makes him feel like he loves that. He feels creative. He feels like I don't know how you feel, but it's just my guess that he's like creating a home for us. I don't even get involved in that. He makes all the decisions. I step back because I trust that whatever he does, he will do a really great job. And besides, I know if I learn how much it costs, I'm gonna get stressed out. It's not sexy. Stressed out being is not sexy. So I let him do everything. I just show up. When I come back to Austin, I'm gonna be pleasantly surprised, and it's gonna be great.
Well, and a lot of my focus is what would they like? What would they appreciate? What would they want? And so I'm thinking mostly of them as I'm planning it. So it's also me supporting them, providing all those things.
Yeah. So I don't want it to say allow, but you give your partner space to feel like a man. Does that come out correct?
I think, I guess for you in particular, it's you can do all of the things. Yeah. And that's also not giving space for there to be polarity and balance in the relationship, right? Like you can all do it all yourself, right. But do you want to?
Women,
that's really the question.
Can I just give
a
little rant about women? We women can do it all. We can, like Beyonce sings, you can pop out babies and get back to business. We can create. We are the source of all creation. We can do it all, hands down. There is no argument about that. But do we want to? Even if we do it all, in the end of the day, when the man doesn't step up, we feel resentment. But the man doesn't step up because we don't give the man an opportunity or space or freedom to step up. And if you always take the lead, especially like if you're a really strong woman, then in the end of the day, you're left resentful. And at a certain point, the man will no longer step up because like he doesn't feel appreciated. He doesn't feel like he's contributing. Why? She can do it all by herself. So for me, it's literally like almost like a daily thing. I'm like, oh, I'll do it myself. And then I'm like, oh no, Roger will do it. Oh, I'll do it. And no, he'll do it. It's literally for me, it's like a daily practice.
Except for sometimes it's like, when will he do it?
I mean, we can talk more and more, but I want to stay focused. It's like also another part of it is like it's asking for support. He cannot read my mind. Men are like particularly, like we women are very intuitive. We can look at somebody and we can sense, like, oh, this person needs my help right now. Oh, this person feels this way. Men are not like that.
No.
You got to tell them what you want them to do because they cannot read your mind. I mean, we're kind of going on the tangent right now. And like they cannot read your mind. They don't know what you want unless you tell them very specifically what it is that you want. And this is also one of the things that I had to learn because I thought like, don't you know? Don't you see me struggling? He's like, no. Like he needed to be asked what to do.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard it said that men need an instruction manual, like how does this thing work? Because I remember we had a moment where you had just gone through teacher training, yoga teacher training, and you basically the result was, to keep it short, was you realized like, I need more support. And I said, what would that look like? And she said, I don't even know.
That's right.
I don't know what that would look like.
Well, let's give it a little bit more context.
Yeah.
So it was a 30-day, 27-day teacher training. And I went through the whole process. Roger just went to the morning work, asana practice. It was forest yoga for those of you who are in forest yoga. And for 27 days straight, I literally had a complete meltdown on the yoga mat. I would just lose my shit. I'd be like, and then I'd come home and he's like, hey, what's going on? You want to talk to me about it? And I was so exhausted energetically that I was like, I'm just going to bed. Moreover, I didn't know myself what was going on. And finally when we sat down to talk, he thought like I was going to leave him. I wanted a divorce or something like that. All I wanted is like, I need you to step up and help me more. But I didn't know that I wanted that until I had a total meltdown for 30 days. And 2, I didn't even know how it would look like or how I needed to ask. It had to come to that extreme for us to actually figure that out. So what we're saying is you don't have to go through an intense 30-day training to come to that realization. Just like listen to us, learn from our learnings, right? Just tell your partner what it is that you want them to do, how you feel supported, how you feel loved. That communication part is really, really important. Okay, let's move on to all the people, single people out there who are joining our call. And the last thing that we want to close it with today is, how do you attract your soulmate love? And what I want to talk about first is this. Because our dating life was so drama filled, there was so much drama, there was so much heartbreak and tears and breakups and getting back together, that when we finally got married, I remember like it was yesterday, I was like, oh, finally, I got him. I got him, finally. And I thought it was like my happy ending. I literally thought it was my happy ending. I finally got a man, he's mine now. And I say that in a joking way. I literally thought that way. What I didn't know, it was just the beginning. It was just the beginning. Getting married was not, like, it was a happy end, but it was, in a lot of ways, it was just the beginning of something even more exciting. I was going to say challenging. I was like exciting, like in a marriage, you learn. I mean, it's a completely different level of human interactions. It's just a completely different level on every single level. So the reason why I'm saying that is a lot of us think like, oh, I'll cross that bridge when I get there. Actually, what we encourage you to do is think about these things now. Making your partner your number one priority. polarity, what men want, what women want, all these things that we cover in these courses, all of that is important now when you are not yet in the intimate relationship. What I also like to say is, tell the story about the Lily.
Yeah, I was just getting to that. Well, so one of our team members at our yoga studio, uh, she was having relationship issues. I guess there's no other way to say it. She was having relationship issues with this person that she was dating, and they were breaking up and getting back together and breaking up. And she moved across the country for him twice, I think. And his main priority was working out and doing like elite fitness stuff. And if you know anybody who does elite fitness stuff, a lot of times there's not much room for anything else, right? So like, that's just all they do because they have to train all the time and they do that. And I think, you know, they were young and he wanted, you know, that was his focus. He wanted different things. And
she was not his number one priority.
Right. And she was pretty frustrated for a lot of the time. And then she realized, like, I'm not even sure that this is what I want in my relationship, but I don't even know what I do want. So she wrote down, she just made a, you know, this is what I want in a partner. And she wrote down, he will be X, he will be this, he will be that, he will be, he is this, he is that, he is this, you know, he's a family man. He is, I am his number one priority. And so forth. And she made this laundry list basically of like, these are all the qualities of my soulmate that I want. And she realized this guy ain't any of that. So that helped clarify a lot of things.
As heartbreaking as it was.
Yeah, I mean, but it helped clarify a lot of things. And then the second part was she had kind of now put that, speaking of manifest, into the universe. This is what I will attract. And then she put it in her little folder and
he moved out from his apartment.
Yeah, and they broke up, and you know, she went through, it's not to say it was all puppies and rainbows, but she went through a tough time. And then she met someone and started dating, and it became serious. And then as they like were looking like, what's the next step here? She pulled out this old journal from years before.
No, honey, if I can ask, they got married or something, or engaged, and she was moving. They were moving in together, and in the process of moving, she found that journal and she opened it, and
he like realized that he was everything that was on that list.
That's right.
And so
I just got goosebumps.
Yeah, and I think it was, one, it helped clarify so that she could move on, and two, I think it put it out in the universe. This is what I'm going to attract, and sure enough.
Yes, and since all of you know that this mastermind is called Manifest Me, right? So we talk a lot about manifesting, and manifesting is energy, but it is also what we do in our, you know, in our reality to shape our reality. So what I urge you to do is create that list. What is a must in your ideal partner, and what is must not also is important. Like, I could never date a man who's a smoker. You know, to me, it's a deal breaker, right? So make that list. I could never date a man who's not working out, right? So if that is a deal breaker for you, make that list. Or what is it that you want in a woman? What is it that you don't want in a woman, in your ideal partner? Now, this is step one. Most people forget about the most important step that comes after that. And the most important step after that is, who do I need to become in order to attract that person? And that again ties me to that first thing that we started with today. The stage one of spiritual development is victim consciousness. It's all the outside factors. You know, all the good ones already taken. I'm too old, I'm too young, whatever. I live in this crap place, blah, 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 blah. All men are pigs, or whatever. You know, it's like the victim consciousness. We always look for the outside world to give us the results. Oh, when I meet this person, then I'll do the X, Y, and Z. No, you start with yourself. Once you take 100% responsibility for all the experiences in your life, this is the key to manifest magic that most people either don't know or they conveniently ignore that part. Who do I need to become now in order to attract my soulmate love? in order to create thriving, intimate, passion-filled relationship? Who do I need to become?
I think it's important there to say, like, you don't really, it's about becoming more yourself.
Yes.
Right. And the best version of yourself, not to try to be something you're not, because that'll quickly unravel. Right.
Oh, I have to tell the story.
Go ahead.
So when Roger and I first met, I was so madly in love with him. Like, I was in love with him the moment I met him. And he was like this older man, really sophisticated, like well-read, knew stuff up that I didn't know. And I was like 21 at the time. And I literally thought that I needed to be somebody else in order for him to love me. So when we first met, I didn't talk. I literally did not talk. Even his friends were like, why are you with this woman? She doesn't even talk. But to me, in my mind, I was like, well, if I don't talk, then I won't say anything stupid. And then, like, he will love me more.
She gets to be mysterious too.
I get to be mysterious. Like, I didn't want to say something stupid and be like, and he would think that I'm stupid. So literally for the first probably, like, I don't know, 6 months of our relationship, I was somebody else. And that was really boring. Like, I feel like he fell in love with me when I let him see me who I truly was.
For sure.
With all my weird, quirky energy, with like all of my kookiness, that's what he fell in love with. Not this who I thought I needed to be in order for him to love me. This quiet person who never spoke.
Well, the funny thing was, so she was like that. We would all go out and she wouldn't talk, and she would talk to me on one-on-one. A little bit. But then one night we went out with her friends and they all speak Russian. And all of a sudden the Albina you all know came out and she's like, ah, talking in Russian. I just kind of sat back and I was like,
who is this person?
Who are you? I like this person. I don't know what you're saying, but like, this is not what I knew was going on at all. And really, that was way more appealing to me than this other person she was trying to make herself to be. That wasn't really her. So when we say, like, who do I need to become? It's not like I have to, if I'm not, the quiet type, which she clearly isn't, to try to be more quiet, so or whatever, but more what kind of self-limiting beliefs do I need to identify and remove so that I can step into what I'm meant, the relationship I'm meant to have, right? And like, one of her self-limiting beliefs was, if I'm who I really am, somebody won't love me. That's a self-limiting belief. So that's what we're talking about.
That's right.
That's what we're talking about.
Like, if your tendency is to be negative and complain all the time, I mean, would you want to be with a person who complains all the time and is negative? Probably not, right? We all want to be around people who exude light and positivity and who make you feel elevated too. Right? So little things like that. So look at your list of who is your ideal partner, and then make a list also, who do you need to become in order to attract that partner. And it's all about personal growth, ripping out your limiting beliefs, growing internally as a soul. So we touched on a lot of things, and we did our best to kind of condense a lot of the information in 1 hour that we had together. And what we're excited, and we talked about it for years, you guys. We talked about rolling out a relationship course, not only for people who are in the relationship, but also for the people who are looking to elevate their relationship, but also people who want that soulmate love in their lives. And finally, the course is on the books. It's called the Yoga of Relationships, because everything is yoga, and the yoga of relationships is the ultimate advanced level, the highest level of yoga there is. It's a ninja level yoga. So Yoga of Relationships comes out in September 21st through 25th, and that's where we'll literally go deeper. We talk about the masculine, how they are wired, how we are wired as the feminine, how we're different, right? Because understanding those differences is important. Honoring, like I said, sex is number one for men, literally, hands down, number one priority for men is sex. And it's not just judging them, it's just knowing that it is really important for them and honoring them. The second one is the freedom, honoring their freedom. What's the third one? Praise. Men like to be the masculine likes being, oh honey, you did such a great job with this, finding this RV park is beautiful, we're having such a great time, thank you so much, you're the best husband in the world. And again, for women it's something completely different. You know, I'm just going to talk really quickly about it, and again we go deep into all these things. For women, what's important is for us to be seen, right? To us for be seen. If it's the moment a woman feels unseen, that's what she will always find somebody, she will go elsewhere because it's our number one. We want to be seen, we want to feel loved, we want to feel acknowledged. It's important for us to feel seen. So if a number one priority for a man is his work and we feel unseen, we will go somewhere else where we get that energy because it's our number one priority. Similar to men, sex is number one. Understood is also important for us. We don't want men to solve our problems, and this is where men make a mistake. They think that if I am telling him what I am concerned with, his desire, his like knee-jerk reaction is to resolve it, come up with a solution. No, I don't want your solution. I want to feel understood. I want to feel understood. It is my basic need to express all of my emotions, how I'm feeling right now. And for a man, it's the worst. Men's tendency, the way their brain is wired, is to make a big problem, something small, and resolve it. For us, women, feminine energy, take something small and we make it really big. This is how we process information. But you see, it's different. So understanding these things. So now that, you know, I go into like, I need to speak it, I need to process by just like making one little thing really big. So for him, it's not like, let's do this and solution. For him, the work is to listen, be like, ah, really? I understand. Yes. And be 100%.
Tell me more about that.
Tell me more about that. Be 100% present with me. So these little nuances are important. So anyway, we go deep into that in this Yoga of Relationships course. We talk about communications. We share with you all the secrets. This is just like the introduction, what we talked about today. So I'd like to open it up for any questions, you guys. I know we spent an hour talking. I want to give you guys an opportunity to ask questions. Feedback. Maybe something didn't sit right with you. No?
Can you talk more about the polarity equals passion thing?
Yeah.
I guess is it good to celebrate the differences that make us sort of polar opposites? Is that where you're coming from?
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, Alex, all of these things go together, right? It's not just one separate, they're all kind of intertwined together. So what comes to mind right now is we all tend to stack the negative, right? You know, you have a fight with your partner and then everything he's ever done, it comes back rushing in because we've been stacking negative one on top of the other, stack. Oh, and that thing you did 5-10 years ago, it's all stacking. When you're constantly stacking, at some moment when you have a fight, it will all come out like a vomit and it's not going to be pretty. The words are said, you know, you can hurt each other to the point where the relationship cannot recover. And what I'm saying is, instead, you can change your pattern. Remember, change your pattern, change your life. So if I'm stacking, oh, Roger is so disorganized. He's so forgetful. He doesn't have his shit together. Blah, blah. You see how it's stack. All the little things that he's ever forgotten, it gets up to boil to a certain degree, and then it's going to come out not in a pretty way. Instead, I look at it right when that thought comes to mind, like, oh, he's so disorganized and he's forgetful, I change my pattern. Oh, I remember, he's not like me. And actually, if he was like me and he was super organized and disciplined and planned everything 10 years ahead, then our life would be so boring. It would be so boring. So instead, I look at him and I remind myself to celebrate that he's spontaneous, that he's romantic, that he's like right here in this present moment, that he likes surprises, that he's extraordinary. I mean, you can look at it as disorganized, or you can look at it as spontaneous, right? It's the meaning that you give it is everything.
Now, she still needs me to get the trash out and to pick up the kids and to do all the things. It's more about how she approaches it internally.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then of course it comes out differently, right? So we used to fight a lot. She would just say, in fact, that was her mantra: you need to get more organized. You need to get more organized. You need to get more organized. And I was like, I'm 35 years old. I'm doing pretty okay. Like I feel like I somehow managed to make it to be, where I am in my life without someone telling me I needed to get more organized. And so it felt like an affront in a way. And so I would push back against it, right?
And we would fight.
And we would fight about it. And really, probably I could use some more organization. And at the same time, it's not going to come because she told me that I was going to. It's going to become because I want to. And she still needed me to do all the things. And like she said, she approached it in a different, more playful way.
Sure.
Like, honey, it makes me feel, or even a joke like, date night's going to be way better if the trash gets taken out,
Oh, if you get the stuff done, the date night is going to be so much more fun, So it's the energy is everything. Remember, I always talk about your inner state, the energy that you're vibrating. Even if I remind him, if I'm reminding him from the place of like, you're just disorganized and undisciplined, forgetful, my reminder is going to come out as blame, right? Pointing fingers. Or I can remind him in a playful way.
That's right. Honey, did you remember
Yeah.
which is different than don't forget this, right?
Does that help, Alex?
Yeah, it helps.
Uh-huh.
It helps because I do have a tendency to stack all the negative, and then it turns into this big negative. Andrea's heard me talk about this before during training, but I have a tendency to do that, and I've found myself going in that way lately. And so it's like, okay, how do I pull back? Because that's not fun. Nobody wants to be with that person.
Yeah, and remember that probably the qualities that you're seeing as negative now at some point have like most qualities have a flip side that can be attractive and can be celebrated. So disorganized, the flip side of that is spontaneous. I am very spontaneous, right? And so there was something in that attracted her to me to begin with, is that I was creative, spontaneous, and it was only when sort of when we moved in together and she, and then we have to have like certain things done, then suddenly it became like, oh, this is not good anymore, right? It's like, and so you can still have the results and you still can celebrate the other side of that, which is that, we would probably not do too much spontaneous. Well, you've gotten more spontaneous.
I did.
But generally,
over the years.
Like we wouldn't have done much spontaneous things ever had I not been the suggester of things, including
Our life would be
starting
so
the
boring.
yoga studio, traveling around the world, et cetera,
I would
right?
never do that.
Yeah.
So Alex, also look at it as whatever it is that you're stacking or whatever it is that is triggering you in your partner. Look at it. It's most likely, I'm willing to bet, that those qualities were the qualities that you found really attractive when you first met. This is the paradox that doesn't make sense, but those are the things, because this is the polarity, right? Because he was so different, this is what attracted you. But once we're together for a while, that polarity, we kind of unconsciously want to eliminate that polarity, forgetting that that's what gives us passion. Does that help?
Yeah, that helps.
Uh-huh.
That helps.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you for good questions. Any other questions? All right.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Oh, Andre wants to ask.
Go ahead.
Albina, when did you mention the yoga relationships courses?
Yeah,
When is that? In September?
it's already on my website. It's actually a part
Oh,
of
okay.
300-hour track, but anybody can join it. You doesn't have to be in the advanced teacher training. It's September 21st through the 25th. We still have a lot of time between now
Yeah.
and then. Probably next month's Manifest Me call will be more on the relationships because it's just so much. It's advanced
Yeah.
yoga, like we said, but the course will roll out in September.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I ask an unrelated question?
Yes.
It's a teacher training question, which is it possible to